What is going on today, guys? So we are finally back out working on the Ranger. It's finally cooled off enough, and we've got the motor all dialed up, looking pretty, looking good. So again, we've pretty much done everything. New oil pan, new water pump, new crank pulley. This is also a new pulley. Here, I replaced this not too long ago. New gaskets all the way out, new heads, valves, stuff. We went ahead and painted our mounts. Pretty much got everything all set to go. We were going to change out the motor mounts as well, but to get to the motor mounts you got to pull the front axle. I don't really feel like doing that, so we're just not going to. So we are going to stab this motor back into the truck. It should be pretty straightforward with how these all fit on there. Just as a pedestal plate on there, just sits down nicely, which is again really nice. So with that being said though, we do need to change one thing. So we still need to change the rear main seal. So we did pick up this cool little tool off of it was either Amazon or eBay. I think I paid like 25 bucks for it. I think it's a knockoff of the OTC tool, but essentially you go ahead and you mount this directly on your right on the back of your crank. This is the seal press that basically just pushes it in there perfectly and uniformly, and it'll be perfect. So I need to go ahead and pull off the back of the engine stand to just go ahead and get all of that set and ready to go. We'll put in a new rear main seal, and then this motor is good to stab into the truck. So we're gonna do that. Let's get started. Okay, so we went ahead and pulled off the engine stand, so now we're just gonna use a pick to pull out this rear main. It should, yep, came out nice and easily. So since I've had this all apart and I had to use some gasket maker on this back piece, I noticed that this had already slid out just a little bit. So if you're having issues, I did see that the factory manual, since it's just like a double lip seal like that, just states to use like some self-tapping screws, go in through each side and then slightly pull out, and it should be pretty nice and easy. So now we're going to take our little adapter right here, and it's going to go right on the back right there, and it should fit snugly. Like this one actually fits awesome. Very happy with this. And then it's just got some Allen heads. These don't need to be super tight, but since you're basically using this to draw it in, you want to tighten them up at least a decent amount. So I'm just going to use this. See? Looks like it's an 8mm if you get this tool. Make it nice and easy. Just like that. So we are gonna, this is an older Cologne motor, so it's the non-single overhead cam. I imagine they're the same, but we are using a National 3393. Quickly taking a look, they do match up nicely. I'm gonna take the new seal, okay? I've got some multi-purpose oil, and I'm just going to basically run around the bead of it a little bit, run around the inside to make sure that this doesn't get stuck. And then we'll go ahead and get this pushed in place. So, let's see, okay. You know what I'm going to do real quick, just because I brought my drill over here. I'm actually going to take this off because how it's sitting on there as of right now, this seal, if you take a look at it, it sits the lip comes out like it's slightly concave. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I had a pick, we're just going to take the pick and we're going to basically insert it so that it folds the lip over. Let's see. Come on. There we go. Just using this to start. We're not puncturing anything or anything like that. We're just using it to start the seal, because once it's started it should be okay. We want to make sure that it doesn't try to fold over itself when we're using that little press. Come on. There we go. So we got started. And this honestly might be able to be pounded on, but since the tool is cheap, I like using tools if they are cheap. We're gonna just use the tool because, again, it's cheap. then we swap to a 16 millimeter. So here's the top piece. You just fit it on just like that. Get your 16 millimeter bolt started. Let's see. There we go. Actually, just because it's got some packing oil on it, just going to use a little bit of oil on those threads as well. And then we're going to slowly push this in. And there we go. And that went in perfectly, and it is perfectly flush, and I like that a lot. So that is the rear main seal installed. Very, very nice and very convenient. So now we're going to stab this motor into the truck, and then we get to start. I actually have to go inside and start pulling some seats out to be able to put there's a little pan on the floor pan that we need to pull out to mount the manual transmission. So that's what we're going to start right now, but first let's stab this in. Okay, so jumping ahead, I went ahead and started getting this all pulled apart, and I apologize it looks like a mess, because I needed to pull this bad boy. So this is the automatic base plate. This is the manual base plate, and as you can tell, there's a hole in this one. That's the only difference. I'm going to put this one in. This allows the shifter to come up through the hole right there, and then I can put the carpet back down. I'm probably maybe going to put the seat back in, not the center console just yet, because I need to figure out all the shifter stuff. But it's pretty straightforward. You peel up all of the flooring right here. It's just 4 bolts on there. These ones were a little hard to get out on mine. But then again, this truck, as you can tell from all of the wonderful rot down here, is rusty. So I guess, I don't know, be conscious of that. But that's the difference. Yes, you can, in theory, just take yours out, trace a hole, cut it, and be done with it. I'm not doing that here, but you can if you want, so that's up to you. What is going on today, guys? So today we are back out working on the Ford Ranger, and today we're gonna have a little bit of fun because we get to finally put in the new manual transmission flywheel, the clutch, the sandwich plate. I've been taking a little bit of time painting stuff, kind of trying to get as much of this cleaned up as I can to make it look good, but on top of that, to make it function really well. So the first step that we're gonna have to do, though, is we're gonna have to drive in this dowel pin. It did come with this kit. I bought it secondhand, funny enough, but we're going to get this driven into the back of the crank on there. From there, we're going to put our sandwich plate on. I really got to make sure I don't forget that. Then we're going to put our flywheel on. It is the 8 bolts design. From what I can tell, there's a little spacer on there right now for the automatic trans. I think I just pretty much remove that. Then I put this one on, and we're good to put the clutch on after that. So from what I can also tell, I'm going to use a bit of thread sealant, or I'm sorry, I'm going to use Loctite. I don't believe I need to use thread sealant on the back of this 4-liter motor. If that comes to bite me, so be it on there, but everything I can't find anything that says that those holes are not blind, aka they don't go all the way through the jacket like they do on, say, like a 302. So I'm going to basically just put some Loctite on there, torque the flywheel bolts 50 foot-pounds. The clutch bolts go down to about 20 pounds from what I can tell. And then from there, really, we're about ready to stab this transmission in. I did have to take out, I did realize that I had, when I pulled this from the junkyard, it did pull up the dowel pins on the transmission. So I'm really glad that I caught that, because trying to put that into the truck, because the motor still has the dowel pins in it, would have been a huge nightmare, especially because this thing's going to be like 150 pounds. It's going to be really heavy for me to try to get that on there to begin with. So I'm going to use the tools that I have. I've got a couple of transmission jacks, so hopefully we're going to be able to get that into the truck without too much hassle, because ideally we can get that all in. I did spend some time putting new U-joints in the drive shafts today, so those are in good shape for what they are. and I think that we're in overall really good shape to be able to put this all together and make it all work. So we're gonna get working on that, and hopefully we can get the transmission in today. If we get the transmission in today, then I can finally start to work on the motor. So like putting all the brackets in. I've got so much stuff piled on the back of this that I need to, like the exhaust I need to scrap, but I'm waiting to get everything done first, like even get the exhaust on, so I know 100% that I've got absolutely everything I need prior to getting rid of anything. So let's get started working on that, and let's see how far we get today. Well, we have a stick in the truck. We've got everything mounted up underneath. I do need to run out and get some new bolts for the cross member, but beyond that, and then this thing just keeps rattling off rust every single time we slam a door, but overall, we're in really good shape. So I still need to tighten down those bolts right there, but that's not really a big deal at all. But that's how level it sits once you get everything in there. And thankfully I was totally right. Everything just bolted up on there, didn't run into too big of an issue. I was running into figuring out what bolts, because I had these and I had these long ones, and then I had a bunch of these shorter ones. So basically everything up top 4 bolts are these short ones, bottom 4 bolts are these long ones. That's the easiest way that I can recommend it. These 2 are automatic only. So thankfully it's pretty straightforward to figure everything out. But now that I got that all done, I also fought for over an hour trying to put in the assembly of both the transfer case and the transmission together. Just don't bother. You can't do it. As you saw, you just can't do it. So separate the transfer case from the transmission. You could slide, pretty much just put the transmission right on the back of the motor. It's that easy, it's that light on there, and then you put the transfer case back on. I did originally, when I put it all together on the side, I did glue it on with some RTV. It looks like that's just a dust shield. It's not like anything. It's not like a fluid shield, if that makes sense in the end. So I did RTV it again just for the dust capacity. But that's pretty much it. So the only other things, I did order in some new stuff. I got some new axles for the front, some new rotors for the front. But looking into this, trying to make sure I have absolutely everything I need. I did grab this starter from the donor truck, the 96 that I pulled this transmission from. So it does look like the automatic and the manual manual starters are different. So I'll pull it off to compare it to see exactly what's different about it. But beyond that, I think we're in pretty good shape. So still have the pedal assembly to do with the master and slave cylinders. Still have the exhaust to do. I still need to button up some electrical because I haven't done that. And then pretty much mount all the stuff on the motor. But beyond that, it's pretty much it. I'm probably going to wait to put in the drive, at least the front drive shaft as of right now, because when I pull the axles out to do these, I do notice I've got a leaky rear front pinion gasket seal that I'm going to need to redo. So I might as well just pull that out, and when I'm there I might just do the motor mounts as well, because the real reason why I didn't do the motor mounts was because you have to pull the front axle. So since I'm going to do that anyways, now that I have these front axles, I also, fun little fact, I did screw up the boot on the one side way back when I reinstalled them. So this is kind of a fix for something that I've had dealing with for a while. Additionally, I ordered some new rotors just because those things are absolutely atrocious from sitting for basically 2 years. So I'm going to basically rip apart that front end after I have the motor done. So we're not really too far off from there. I think I should also be able to do the exhaust first. But if not, the one thing I do need to kind of figure out on the exhaust side of the house, and I don't even know where I put that box right offhand, but on the exhaust side of the house, I need to figure out where the catalytic converter goes, that square flange, what I'm going to be doing there, just because it's an oddball oval. And maybe, is it in the back here? But it's an oddball oval that you have to deal with for this. And I don't readily know how I'm going to achieve that angle to be able to create something. Now, if I don't, I do have a backup plan, just because of the design of these I'm very well familiar with, because it is all just like standard small block stuff. So here is the header that I have, and then it's just a 2-bolt flange, just like all the Fox Body stuff. And the other one. So, worst comes to worst, I simply bolt these on directly to the heads, and then I just make my own exhaust out of that big box of exhaust tubing I have over there. But I'm trying to see if I have the other piece, which is right here. This is my issue that I'm currently dealing with. Sorry to put you guys all the way up there, but if I were to wire it all together, which originally was my plan, I have to deal with this, and I don't know how to get basically another male piece that would match this, that I would be able to easily just make it all work. I don't know how I can do that. So I've got to keep looking around for that side of things, but I think that we're going to call it there for tonight. Worst case, I just run duals on this thing and don't even worry about it. So that was a lot of work. But now comes all of the tedious million and 2 million little small things that need to be adjusted to be able to get this thing actually running and driving. We're really not far off from it. I mean, I know it kind of looks barren when I look at this, but really, if I were to come out here, spend probably 2, maybe 3 hours, I'd probably have the entire front dress on, maybe even the radiator in and all the wiring all done on this, just because I'm not modifying anything. It's just plug and play. The biggest items that are going to hold me up, I need to pull. You're not going to see that. I need to pull the brake pedal assembly that's currently in the truck, go to the 3 pedals, and then I need to mount the master cylinder and the slave cylinder. That's the biggest issue that I foresee running into, because that's actual fabrication more so than just bolting in other stuff. So we're going to leave it there, though, for today, and let's pick back up in a little bit. Well, unfortunately, at some point the camera died and I did not hear it, but we have the motor basically all wrapped up. So pretty much every major system's done and installed. I still need to put plugs and wires and exhaust on it, but the top part is done for now. So all of the hard wiring minus the O2 sensors and some of the stuff around the trans that I just have to wrap up, which isn't a huge deal. We've got all of that more or less done, and it's so nice actually having so much less parts on the back of the truck. So we're gonna call it there for tonight. That was a lot of just tedious small little stuff, remembering how the harness was ran and stuff like that. So thankfully it's pretty straightforward. The cool thing about this is I was able to pull the motor and trans and just unhook the air compressor, bungee cord it off, and not lose any Fran whatsoever. So that was pretty nice. You could probably do the same with the power steering pump. My power steering pump was whining, so I just replaced it and pinned the bracket at the same time. But with that being said, you could probably get all away with basically not having to really worry about all that stuff. So I do have to take care of the starter still and the starter wiring, but that's really straightforward. It's just I need to hook up one harness to the side of the motor, and yeah, that's pretty much it. But it's very nice to see all this kind of all back in place where it belongs. We re-gasketed absolutely everything, so all of the gaskets are all brand new throughout the entire motor, so it should hopefully not leak, and shouldn't really give us too many issues. It's actually kind of nice working on stock stuff once in a while. So we're gonna call it there for tonight though, and yeah, let's leave it there. What is going on tonight, guys? So tonight we're back out working on the Ranger, and we are on the next step, which is getting the starter hooked up. So an important thing, if you are doing any type of swap, double check your starter. It's really common for an automatic starter to be different from a manual, and here's a great representation of how different it is. So this is the factory starter. As you can see, it's got a really small clocking diameter, where the manual one is massive. So I pulled this off of the same truck that I pulled the transmission from, so I 100% know it fits. Since the transmission hooks up to the, since the starter bolts to the transmission bell housing, I know it's gonna work 100%. Additionally, by some additional further research on there, I know the flywheel situation will not be a big deal whatsoever. I guess they actually had a smaller flywheel for an amount of time, and then they actually bumped up to the larger flywheel, and it's actually an upgrade on the earlier trucks to go up to a later flywheel. So I know that that's all going to work. The only big difference that we have on the back side of this is this one right here. If you can see, that's the starter wire. That wire right there is a ring terminal, where this one's a spade. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab a spade terminal, crimp it on there, and I can bolt this up, and we are good to move on that. Additionally, we did get this nice big box in, which I'm debating on showing you guys what we got in. Yeah, we'll see. Might happen tonight. Okay, well, now that we got that all done, it was an absolute pain to get those two starter bolts in, but we had to do them by hand. Not a big deal. Let's get this box open so you guys can see what we got. Okay, let's get this open and take a look at her. And da-da-da-da, we have a new heavy-duty front bumper. Let's go ahead and rip the old one off, and then we can go ahead and get this one installed. Well, that'll do it. We got everything installed. These side pieces are definitely a little bit more difficult to put on if you're by yourself. The stinger bar is super easy. It just takes a hex head, and then basically all you really need for the entire thing is a 19mm wrench, a 19mm socket. I use an electric ratchet. That was very helpful for most of this. If not, a 1/2-inch socket, deep wells, some kind of stuff like that. But really, it's just 1919s. The hex looks like 3/8. Don't know off the top of my head, but hex is actually an 8mm. But beyond that, it looks great. And then, like I said, the satin actually cleans up. I hit all this just recently, that's why it still looks wet. But I actually hit the whole bottom side. You can't even tell. And again, it looks good. The fit's great. I'm really glad I painted that little trim panel right here, right before I did it. So yeah, it looks good. So we might have to get a winch for this thing. And yeah, cool. All right. Well, guys, that's the bumper install. It is quite literally that easy. I think this thing looks great for what it is. I mean, look at on the sides how good that fit is right there. It's just so good. Like I said, the biggest thing with this, you'll see a bunch of nooks or nicks and whatnot. Just grab a can of satin spray paint and it'll just clean right up. I do still happen to have a skid plate sitting right over there, thankfully. So that makes that nice and easy because this one doesn't go as low as the factory bumper, is what I was reading. And 100% they are correct right there. If I can give you guys a little bit more light, you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Right there, you can see the, right here, that is the condenser. And this thing is junk. If you watch this right here, this just shakes on there because it's all rotten. But I do have a splash plate that goes over that, so thankfully I don't need to worry about that. Additionally, this truck does have fog lights, so what I can actually do now is I have a bunch of those LED pods, so I'm actually just going to hook right into the wiring with the LED pods and call it good. Probably just drill a couple holes in the bottom there and it'll all be good to go. But we're going to leave it there for tonight. Hopefully you enjoyed the install. For 250 bucks, it's really, really hard to beat something like that, especially when they go for like over $1,000 or something absolutely insane like that. So if I were in your shoes, would I buy it? Yeah, probably. I probably would. It's good quality. It bolts together with nice thick bumpers, or I'm sorry, nice thick bolts. The one that I bought is right here. Of course. Okay, there we go. The one I bought is right here. It's from High Super Shop on eBay. So it says it fits 93 to 11. Yeah, it was about $253. Pretty easy for that. And yeah, so we'll leave. What is going on tonight, guys? So tonight we are back out on the Ranger, as we've been working on this quite a bit. So today I've been working on a couple of fun things. So we did just wrap up the bumper install, which this is it outside, and I think that thing looks absolutely killer. But we've been working on the brake pedal assembly, which is also the clutch pedal assembly. So I've already pulled the one out of the truck, and so here it is. This is just the automatic brake pedal assembly. Here's one that I pulled from a truck previous. This was a 96. If you see how much beefier this bracket is, and it's aluminum, this one's stamped steel, so kind of crazy how much of a big difference it is. I also went ahead and pulled out, this is the shifter cable. There is a linkage underneath there as well. I'm gonna have to figure out the column stuff because I think that it's gonna fight me a little bit. I've dealt with that on the 84 pickup as well. That was an automatic converted to manual, so it's not a huge deal. It's probably gonna need me to go into the column. Worst comes to worst, I'll just go pull a manual column. Pretty much all the trucks are identical, so 2, 3 all the way up to 4 liter. Again, all of them are identical, so ideally I'll just be able to delete something and pull the shifter out, but that's not really critical to the truck running, at least in my opinion. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that all figured out in short order. But more importantly, so when I was underneath the dash, this actually hooks up to the shifter column. There is a little bracket or a little like clip that holds this piece in, and then this goes into the firewall. So I was a little bit concerned because I was like, oh, I think I need to remove this cable from this. Nope, you cannot. It is fully sealed. But with that being said, here is the new cylinder on there. It comes with a new one. So you actually don't need to worry about that at all. And then your piece goes directly in here. I'm not connecting it until this is all mounted up so that I don't have to worry about it. But here's the biggest difference in the clutch pedal assembly. I did just go ahead and lubricate this up. You can buy new ones of these, and I believe you can also rebuild this shaft should you have any issues. It looks like it's just one piece that actually comes out this way right there, and then all of this should just come out. Really not too big of a deal. It's a little E-clip on the side as well, as you can see right there. So I just hit it up with some silicone spray, probably gonna hit it up a little bit more. So pulling this is a little bit of a challenge, not terrible though. In the junkyard, it was horrible. Absolutely terrible. But you've got these 4 bolts that go to the brake booster, and then you have 2 bolts up here. Originally, I was only going to put one of them back in, and then I realized the bolts actually go into the cowl, so they are sealing bolts, so I do have to put both of them back in. But you do need a stubby and a little swivel to be able to get to these, just because of where they mount. They basically mount like this, and then there is a wall, like a subwall, that goes right here. So it is a little bit of a difficult piece to get out. Additionally, when I was pulling this assembly, I don't recall it on the other truck that had the different style dash, but with that being said, I did have to fully remove the brake booster. So now if yours is like mine, the brake booster was super rusty on the bottom. So I did also just hit it up with some paint right there to get it all nice and at least sealed up. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to remount the clutch pedal assembly. Since here's the hole right there for, don't know if I'm going to be able to show that real quick, I'm losing light, but right there is the hole for where the assembly goes through. I should be able to kind of mount all of that up loosely and get it all situated nicely prior to me getting the booster in and losing all that space, so on and so forth. So I did want to take a second to show this piece because it's kind of important, but from there I'm just going to get this all kind of installed and then we can start working on the exhaust. Okay, so we finally got everything done, and as you can see, we officially have 3 pedals, and I'll tell you what, it is kind of a huge pain. So right there, we did get the seal in, that was pretty hard. Getting this in, you start it right on this square, if I can get the light right. You start it right here, you push it through, and then you actually have to twist the body of that. It's kind of weird because the line just goes out to the right and then the feed line goes to the left. And then you just put the bar on and all that stuff, but all this is pretty good. No real issues from that perspective. Here's the top side. This, since it wasn't a manual truck to begin with, from what I've seen, I basically need to mount this like right here, from what I can tell. But it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Let's go underneath. You can kind of see there's a push-on fitting and a plastic line, so it's pretty straightforward. If I can bring this out right here. So let's take a look. Right there. Okay, so right there is that push-on line that I was talking about. Try to zoom in. You literally just push it on there, and then the only thing that wasn't like super obvious from what I could tell is that this line, it's a plastic line, it goes like under in between the body and then like the inner fender flare. So you just kind of have to work it a little bit and you'll get it in, but for the most part that's pretty much it. So this is a brand new Clutchmaster and a brand new Slave, so it's been pretty straightforward, so that's not too bad. Ooh. Okay, so everything I bought was all pre-bled, so I really shouldn't have to do a whole lot. I'll probably just crack the bleeder, it's right above that plastic line, and work it a couple times, and then it should be pretty good. But it's already pretty firm. I don't feel it sinking or anything along those lines. It feels really good. So I do need to get kind of a bunch of this stuff more or less wrapped up, but for the most part, we've got the pedal set in, so that's a huge next step, because now really we need to do the exhaust, plugs and wires, and put in the drive shafts, and fluids all need to be done all the way across the board. But then this thing's ready to fire. What is going on tonight, guys? So tonight I'm still outside working on the Ranger. We were able to, and there is not going to be a good way to show this, so I'm going to come over to the only place that is. We have the headers installed. These were very difficult to put in, admittedly. You have to remove the dipstick on here, and then even then, after you remove the dipstick, it still doesn't even fit right there. So it is what it is. This one I had to come in from underneath, and it was kind of a pain. You do need to use studs at the top, and then short bolts at the bottom. I'm squeezing through. This side was a little bit more of the same. Yeah, you can see them right there. It was a little bit easier, but still just kind of a difficult piece. So going back and forth, I was measuring out using just like some simple elbows along with ball joints, and that would look something similar. I've had these made up for an old Mustang project. Here's one of them that I was going to make up for this one, where I wanted to I needed to move the ports to the top, but I'm actually going to do the safe thing, and I'm going to use the crossover. So the reason why I was going to go with that, is the geometry is just too complex to make true duals work. I'm not really going to get a lot of benefit out of them, so I said the hell with it. So instead, we need to make a flange that is going to fit this, because there's no flanges that you can just buy that work. So I'm actually just going to use this right here. So as you can kind of see, it just bolts directly, not bolts, but it's going to weld directly onto that piece. I basically had to cut that and do a whole bunch of crazy geometry stuff to make that work, but made it work. So it's going to probably leak a little bit at the top, but it's not fully, if you can see in there, it's not fully welded at the top, so it should let air pass through. It really shouldn't have too many issues. And then, oh, sorry, a little bit hot. I did weld a V-band to the top of that just to make my life easier, as I always like to do. And then we're just going to get this kind of pretty much directly sitting as centrally as possible, just like that. And then clean up a little bit right there, but for the most part, that's going to be it. So we're going to weld that directly to the flange, and then this whole piece is going to be good to go, at least as of right now. So I'm going to keep working on that, but that's what I had to do to make this all function. What this is designed, so again, the truck's 2000, the exhaust I ordered is for a 90 to 94. So the stock catalytic converter uses this super weird flange, just like that, and as you see, this one's just totally destroyed. So I'm just not going to use that at all. I was originally looking to see if I can get a mating flange just to go to a 2.5-inch pipe. Didn't see anything out there for it, so this is the route we're going. But I'm going to weld this, and then we're going to take a look at what it looks like after everything's said and done, at least for this piece, and then I could just continue to weld up the rest of the exhaust. Well, if it's wet, if it looks wet, it's because it actually is. I just did that to cool it down. But I think I laid down some pretty good welds on that. She's absolutely cooked onto there, so I really shouldn't run into it. Yeah, I'm even able to see the weld inside, so that's always good. So I think we're in good shape, because I can't see, you know, if I'm going through, I can't see around it. I think we're in really, really good shape there. So now I'm going to bolt this up so that we can at least start to mock up where we want the rest of our exhaust. Now, since I am using just a single, I'm using that crossover, we're going to make the Race Magnum welded. We're going to make it work. All right, guys, so we've got it all bolted up. Let's take a look at what we have underneath. So there it is, bolted from the underside. As you can kind of see, we've got a little bit of an angle right here that I can probably correct with a flex pipe, so I'm not really too concerned. There's the top view right there where you can see the header on there. Here's the crossover pipe right there to the other header. So thankfully there is two O2 sensor bungs. Since this is early 2000s build, you really do need those front two O2 sensors for this. But overall, I think it fits pretty well. And as you can see, I was barely able to squeak by the transmission there. So it's tight, but that's gonna work at least for right now. What I'll end up doing is I'll end up getting a flex pipe to make everything work on the triometry, to put the pipe actually to the back of the cab and just do a simple dump. It's going to be pretty straightforward. What is going on tonight, guys? So tonight we're back out in the garage because we are kind of getting a little bit close to wrapping up the Ford Ranger. We did go ahead and go on a little bit of a side project, so unfortunately the rust on these fenders is pretty bad. We'll replace them. But what we did, and I'm trying to get in there and get a good look for you guys on here, is we went ahead and basically replaced virtually everything in the wheel well. We replaced the CVs, ball joints, control arms where possible, blasted the knuckles, new rotors, basically all the good stuff. So last year I did pads and calipers and brake lines and brake hoses, so that was all new. But we went ahead and got all that taken care of. So pretty much we don't have a whole lot left to do. We've got drive shafts, we've got the remainder of the exhaust and the skid plate, but thankfully that's pretty much it. So let's take a quick gander underneath at what we've got going on, and I'm trying to see if we can get you guys a good look, because unfortunately it's probably gonna not want to focus a whole lot. But there's a transfer case, transmission, and we got the exhaust. So we have the exhaust terminating just into a V-band. So what we need to do is we need to take the V-band and we need to come all the way out here, and we're probably going to dump it somewhere around there. So since we got everything more or less taken care of on the exhaust end, and since we ended up using the Y-band that was in the car that came with the kit, we're going to do just some universal exhaust. I did grab a flex pipe, but then we're gonna do something a little bit fun. So I'm a little concerned with how loud this muffler is gonna be. So this is kind of cool. Way back in the day, I used to do some work with Walker Exhaust, which is a division of Tenneco, and I knew of these, but I'd never seen one. So I was able actually to grab this at a speed shop for like 20 bucks, and it's kind of right up the alley of what I'm looking for. It's a 2.5 inch, but it's a Race Magnum. So I'm a little concerned this is going to be a little loud, even though it's just a V6. So what we're going to do, and I've done this before, so we're going to use 2 separate mufflers. So this is just a glass pack. This glass pack is going to act as a resonator. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to have, kind of laying it all out, we're going to have the V-band right here, some pipe. We're going to go into the flex, some more pipe, going to go into the thrush glass pack, and then finally we're going to end here, and then we're probably going to have some sort of downturn or something coming out of there. I don't know. I've got a bunch of pipe that I can use to make that all work. But that's kind of it. So once we've got that done, I need like spark plug wires, and then this thing's ready to fire and fill the coolant. But regardless, so I'm gonna get working on this, but overall it's really coming together. We did get the front diff back in, new seals, new fluid. There's new fluid all the way throughout the entire vehicle now. So we're really getting close to getting this thing fired up. So I'm gonna get working on this exhaust, and then after I do some measurements and do some welding, I'll kind of show you the final product before we all stick it back in this truck, and maybe, just maybe, we can get fired tonight. If not, we're gonna get fired up tomorrow. Okay, so unfortunately we're not gonna be able to get done tonight, but here is the more or less welded exhaust. So this already I had showed previously. This is how I had to adapt the converter flange to be able to accept just a standard piece. Once you get it all set, you do have to weld that. So I tacked it underneath the truck, came back and welded it. Sorry, don't make fun of my welds, they're terrible. But we did go ahead. I had to cut this a couple times to get the right angle, but I was able to get the angle. We have a flex in here on there, just straight. This again is just a glass pack, a cherry bound glass pack, and then we've got the OG Race Magnum. So I did throw a little hanger on there. Probably when everything's said and done, I'll throw like something like this. It's kind of funny because all these are 2.5 inch ID rather than OD. So ID would be the bigger one, OD is the smaller one. So I'm actually having to basically just throw it in backwards, then lob the end off, and then just tack it a couple of times all the way around. But we've got the exhaust mostly done now, beyond putting it back into the truck. But I'm gonna wait to do that until tomorrow. We'll get that all in, and then we should be pretty much done. What is going on today, guys? So we are back out in the garage. Got a slick new hairdo because I wanted to be able to do this nice and cool. We are about to get that exhaust fully installed in the truck. Just got done doing the plug wires, so finally that's all done. Put the little boots on there to make sure they don't burn on the headers, just like that right there. So we're gonna get that on. We're gonna put the splash shield on, fill up the coolant, and then potentially bleed the clutch a little bit. Maybe not bleed the clutch a little bit. Maybe we just try to get this thing started up. So I did real quick. So the harness for the neutral safety switch, I was able to route up here. I just have it zip tied right here. Kind of through trial and error, if you kind of see how that is all done right there. I've determined where neutral is. So basically the nice thing about this safety switch as opposed to some other ones is you can put it all the way either forward or backwards. So forward in one way you'll get park, the other one I think you'll either get first or second. So I was able through process of elimination to determine park. So right there, if you can see that little blue notch right there was where park was, and then I was able to just kind of feel it out until I found neutral. Since you can only start in automatic either in park or neutral, it's pretty easy to get it figured out. So then I made a bunch of markings, zip tied it so it'll be totally fine, and then we'll be good. So I am going to try to turn off the automatic transmission with HP tuners on this truck, but to be honest, it still has the automatic transmission, transmission computer in it, so this should at least get us running good enough that we shouldn't be running into too many issues. So I'm gonna get that exhaust on, and then we're gonna try to get this thing fired up and see what it sounds like. I'm really excited as we were able to rock the glass pack right here, as well as the Race Magnum. I think we're gonna run into a little bit of noise with the Magnum, unfortunately, just due to where it exactly is. There's a little hump on the transmission, or I'm sorry, there's a little hump on a cross member that's designed for the exhaust to go underneath it. We're going over it. What I'm going to try to do is I do have some cover, some wrap, that I'm going to try to wrap just that little section right there so that if it does vibrate, it doesn't make noise. But I'm going to get this installed, and then we're going to get this thing fired up. All right, let's get it. What is going on today, guys? So unfortunately, it is not the same night that I was doing when I was working on this. We had to go down a couple of rabbit holes. This thing would not fire, would not fire, would not fire. Couldn't figure it out. Ended up digging a bunch into it. I replaced the crank sensor. Wasn't sure that it was bad, but I had suspected it was bad. That didn't fix it. Funny enough, what it actually was the cam synchronizer on the back of the motor where the distributor would typically be. I didn't have it clocked right. So I had to set the motor back to top dead center. At least on this 2000, you just put it center line straight, so I didn't need a tool. And we were pretty successful. So let's give her a good old fire up. But here's how she's looking outside now. We kind of got everything more or less sorted out. Got the whole bed cleaned off on there. We even went ahead and got the dash all sorted out, and the center console. Still need to come up with that, but we're in neutral. Let's So, and on the inside, there's all the normal temperatures. Got everything all said and done. On there, it does have a check engine light for all of the transmission that is not there. But again, we got the wiggly stick in there. It's all really good. Again, got the Explorer center console back in. We did Explorer seats on this beforehand. And overall, this thing runs and drives really nicely. I did peel these off. I'm going to replace them, as well as that core support that's already also junk. But for the most part, it's pretty good. I'm pretty excited this thing's all done, and now we just get to drive it. So let's leave it there. Well, we're really getting involved now. Got a new core support over there. Got the whole front end peeled off. Went ahead and pulled the crank snout, and exactly like what I thought. I don't know if you can see in there. There's no chain on that gear as on the snout. So I'm gonna pull the timing cover, but at least we were able to figure out what went wrong. Well, holy shit. Would you look at that? That is crazy. That's actually insane. So one of it just broke. It just actually broke. That's insane. But now I gotta find it, which kind of sucks. What is going on tonight, guys? So I've been kind of putting off the end of this video because it's something I didn't really want to have to do, but unfortunately we've got to get it all wrapped up. So here is our beautiful motor that we had put together for the Danger Ranger, and as you can see, it is no longer together. What we ended up having is I was driving it down the road, and all of a sudden, no power, couldn't figure it out. Did fuel, did a whole bunch of other stuff, ended up not being any compression. It snapped the timing chain between the camshaft and the crankshaft. After that, I said, okay, I'm going to start pulling out the camshaft. Well, those are seized bearings on the end of the camshaft. I had to beat this out of the motor. Here's what the camshaft bearings looked like, which is crazy because we didn't have this problem when we put this motor together. But here's everything with it. If you look in there, all of the bearings, you can even see one of the bearings just fell out right there. Every single one of them entirely seized. No idea why. We're gonna go ahead and take the oil pan off and check the mains. They're probably also junk, but unfortunately we did scrap the Danger Ranger. So we're just gonna kind of double check our homework here to see what's going on. Somebody I talked to had said that they had heard of 4 liters not getting proper lubrication to the cams. I had never heard of that, but that doesn't mean that that's not the case. But let's take this oil pan off and take a look and see if we can assess the damage anymore, and then we can finally put this in its final resting spot. That is crazy. This was a brand new oil pan, and look at all that. That's all bearing material. Wow, what a shame. What a shame. And then strangely enough, that's actually not horrible. You can feel some of it. It was starting to totally wipe. What a weird thing. But at the end of the day, that's the way she goes. So we'll save the oil pan. This is going to become a core, and we're going to move on. All right. Thanks for joining us, guys. Hopefully you learned something. It's unfortunate that we put a lot of time and energy into this block, but on the plus side, I was able to part out the Ranger and get back most of my money. So that was pretty cool, and I'm very excited about that. So we're going to go ahead and dispose of this thing, and like I said, it's going to become a core. We're going to pick up another 5 liters, so we'll just use it for that. Awesome. Thanks for joining us, and see you next time.